It involves, from a water perspective, that we know when the river levels get to particular elevations, that the potential for flooding goes to particular areas. The first criteria is public safety. That is why we evacuate. That is why we have the Calgary Emergency Management Agency, SEMA. In an event of this type where a local state of emergency was declared, they take over. There are very specific steps that have to happen. So going in and saying, okay, I want to stay, you don't, that would be a chaotic situation for them. The police, the emergency response folks know what they have to do. It is there for the protection of Calgarians.
Behind you, if you don't mind. Then you next.
Okay, we have had a lot of discussion about land use and development. Like it's on me that the development is the biggest culprit for this flood. To my understanding, we are in the stormwater business for many years, and in Calgary and in Alberta, we are already too much tight on these things. Like release rate is actually in post-development is less than pre-development. Most of the areas which we are developing, we are releasing only 1 liter per second per hectare. That means we are containing all the flow which could contribute to the downstream flooding less than it was going before. So what I think that the flood was based on the problem upstream of the development and not created by development itself. So whatever we do within the city of Calgary or within the development may not help much. And as David said, that we have to either build some diversions, some dams, or some big concrete things that this block.
You would have primarily been to him. Sure. Okay, so my question will go to you and to you. It would have been better to him, but he's gone. Oh well.
You had to meet his wife at the airport.
Yeah, really.
To avoid a murder.
Do we know how much water was diverted into agricultural canals and whatnot? Or down into Chestermere?
During the flood.
Yeah, and that kind of thing, because I'm looking at, again, if we come back up, we're not drilling down, but we pull back up out. Is there a way to connect the Old Man River system and some of those waterways with the bow and with the elbow? And how much water were we able to actually divert? Because as you're saying, you know, I mean, some of this is runoff. It was activity, that precipitation that melted the snow. But I think that with climate change, we really are going to have more and more of these events. So how much can we put? What's full pool in Chestermere? What's full pool in the Glenmore Reservoir? I didn't go to the reservoir to see how many little trees, only the tops were visible at the time. But I guess you were saying in your study that because the dam is not made for holding water back, that it was pretty much full pool at that time, right?
It's made for holding water back. It's a storage dam, right?
Yeah,
What I was saying is that we are able to draw it down from crest level on the dam by a certain amount. And we're also able, obviously once the flow reaches the crest and starts flowing over, then there is basically that band that we have available for storage. What we're looking at are there ways to temporarily hold more water than we did? That is we need to look at the structural integrity of the dam to do that. We need to look at what's the infrastructure that's needed on the dam, for example, to do that. That study is underway to look at that.
Yeah, because there should be piezometers on that dam structure, should there not, that shows you how much water seepage is what this guy was asking about for the water wave that occurs underground. And so again, I just kind of wonder how much water do we actually put into irrigation? Because if you could bring that down through to the water structures in around Bassano, that'd be great, because dryland farming really, I think, does need the water, you know, south and east of Lethbridge and that kind of thing, and up towards Brooks. I mean, Brooks is damn near a desert. So if we could irrigate more by storing the water and bringing it in, maybe that's something we should be looking at going forward, simply because climate change is a happening thing.
So, I'm not sure I
What's my
quite
question?
understand your point, but
How
Bassano-
much did we put into the irrigation systems
Okay.
at peak?
Well, the system, the diversion from the bow at the weir
Yep,
diverts into the Western Headworks Canal, which, as you say, goes down to Chestermere and into the Western Irrigation District.
yep,
There is a operating protocol for that weir and the diversion that is operated by the province, right?
okay,
There is a flood protection lead downstream
yes.
for Chestermere, etc. In terms of the flow that was diverted, I don't know the answer to that question, but we can find that out. Then downstream, beyond Calgary, they have the same infrastructure issues. I know from a presentation that I saw 2 weeks ago by Earl Wilson, the general manager of the Eastern Irrigation District, which own and operate the Bassano Dam, is that they came very close because of the magnitude of the flow of breaching what they call the fuse plug. They have a concrete dam and they have an earth dike,
Yeah.
basically. They were concerned about the structural integrity of the Bassano Dam. I do know that at the Carsland Weir, the fuse plug did go. It got washed out. So the downstream, from an irrigation perspective, you're talking about a water supply as opposed to a flood protection. So we've got two different sides of the same coin.
It'd be
there.
nice if we could incorporate some of those, I think, if it's possible. And maybe you just put in concrete aquifers, more of them. I mean, it's expensive, but maybe that's one of the ways to go.
I think that's what, there's kind of no idea is a dumb idea going forward on this. There are options. There's money involved in it, obviously.
Mr. Convener, we have time for two 2.5-minute questions or one
I just want
5-minute
to
question.
answer one part of this question. Our company is doing a lot of work on WID, and in actual, the water was not diverted to WID during this flood. The reason was the WID canals pass through a lot of flat area, and if the water passed through that, there was a big danger that it could in a lot of developments.
Yep.
I think it's understandable. What we can do in future, that we can build some dam on the WID canals, which can stop the flood water, but for now, we have nothing.
Well, I see our last two questioners, so there we go.
The reference that you made, Professor, about the 32 flood and the fact that did you know that I saw one graph from Water Smart, that showed the flood in 32 to be exactly the same as 13,
That's
2013. And so therefore, the reservoir was empty. It was surveyed by Gore, Story, and Naismith, the engineers who,
Which reservoir are you talking about?
oh, sorry, the Glenmore,
Okay, so you're talking about the Elbow River, not the Bow River then?
the elbow,
Elbow, okay.
yeah. They're two separate.
Right.
I have a question on the elbow for you next. This would also involve this gentleman here. Are you with the city, sir?
I am indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got information from the city engineering department also. And then what happens is that there's a monument on the Elbow River down at 26th Avenue and 1st Street Southwest. And it describes the value, it's a city monument that is bouldered, granite, with a bronze plaque, and it describes how the reservoir of 32, Glenmore Reservoir, saved any damage down in downtown Calgary, period, and was put up by the city, obviously. To that extent, Mr. Atkinson is relating to the siltation, sedimentation in the reservoir, and I can ask you questions that relate to that. How have you been able to estimate or have knowledge of the amount of sedimentation? When you lowered the water in the dam, it was 3 meters. That's what I was told by your department. 3 meters. 3 meters is 10 feet. The dam is 61 feet deep. It's like this. However, how much of that, so the 3 meters was limited by the location of the sediment at the bottom of the dam. Not the bottom of the dam, the bottom of the lake as you see it. As you see it, it is the sediment, right?
The drawdown of the reservoir prior to an event is basically what we're looking at is we want to minimize how much we draw it down from a water supply perspective.
Yes.
We want to make sure that we can draw water into the Glenmore treatment plant
Of course.
that is as good a quality as we can get it,
Yeah.
obviously. So it is an operating procedure that we have to draw it down based on factors such as that. It is not based on how much sediment is in the bottom. It is a function of drawing water out of the reservoir through the intakes. What I can tell you is that the recent work that was done at the Glenmore plant and also the Bearspaw plant, which was a program of almost $500 million a couple of years ago, or in the last 7 years, I believe it is. If that had not taken place, and those upgrades had not taken place, to deal with increased sediment that was drawn in, we would not have had potable water through this event. The fact that we did that to deal with the turbidity saved at least everybody. There was restrictions,
Indeed.
but it's not a function of where that sediment is. We do sediment surveys. We did one last year, 2012.
Yes.
We will be doing another one this year so that we can see what changes have taken place, if any, in the reservoir. What we do believe is that there is flushing of sediment out of the reservoir as well as sediment accumulating. But that's what the surveys are for, so we can see what it does to volume, so we can see what it does to our ability to draw water out of the reservoir into the water treatment plant.
But the thing is that when you want to draw it out for the water treatment plant, you have the limitation of the buildup of sediment that's in there now. There's 80 years of sediment. And the city has done, Jamie Dixon, the city has done monitoring of the sediment that has been forming in there annually. And it's the difference of Weaselhead TSS and the